Shalom and welcome to another lesson in the series The People of Israel Are Coming Home, the book of Joshua. Today we will learn chapter 7, Perek Zayin. Today we will study about the story of Achan. As we recall, in chapter 6, Perek Vav, we spoke about the people of Israel entering and capturing the city of Jericho. The battle at Jericho was led by God. God led the entire battle. Just the people of Israel blew the trumpets and the walls came tumbling down. But God had commanded the people not to take any of the merchandise, any of the animals, any of the booty from the city of Jericho. And here we are. Chapter 7 begins, and as we do usually, I'm going to read a few sentences in Hebrew, translate them to English, and try to study them with a deeper input. Vayimalu b'nei Yisrael ma'al b'cherem. And the children of Israel transgressed the ban on the consecrated property. Vayikach Achan ben Karmi ben Zavdi ben Zerach l'matei Yehudah. This gentleman named Achan from the tribe of Judah. He takes from the consecrated property. Min hacherem. Vayichar af Adonai b'vnei Yisrael. And the anger of Hashem, the anger of God, flared against the children of Israel. And what happens? For the second and the people of the Ai killed 36 people. The people of the Ai chased them, and the people's hearts melted and became like water. And Joshua himself too. He tears his clothes and he falls his face on the ground. He says to God, what happened? How did such a thing happen? The plan is that we are supposed to capture the land. How can we be defeated? And God says to him, get up. What are you falling down? Why are you falling on your face? Chata Yisrael. Israel has sinned. V'gam lakhu min hacherem. They broke my covenant and they took from the booty. And the story continues that Joshua checks out who took from the booty, and he calls all the people of Israel, as God commanded him. Kum kadesh et ha'am, and we're reading verse 13. Come then and prepare the people. Tell all the people to get ready for tomorrow, because tomorrow we are going to clean the nation of Israel. In the morning you should come forward tribe by tribe. And the tribe that is pointed out by God, Yikrav LaMishpachot. And God is going to choose from the tribe the families, and from the families the exact specific person who took from the booty, from the consecrated things that they were not supposed to take. And after Joshua does this whole ceremony, turns out that there's a gentleman by the name of Achan. And Joshua says to him in verse 19, Vayomer Yoshua el Achan, B'ni, simna kavod Adonai Elohei Yisrael, come ahead, come across, give honor to God. Tell us, what did you do? And Achan says, Omna, yes, I have indeed sinned. And this is what I've done. Va'ere bashalal shin arachatuva, among the booty I saw this beautiful Babylonian garment, and 200 shekels, 200 shekalim kesef, and 1 bar of gold, the shon zahav echad. Va'echmedem, and I desired them. Va'ekachem. And the family of Achan, or Achan himself, is punished. And this is the end of the story here. And we have to learn, study this story. There are several questions trying to understand this story. When Joshua calls upon God and said, how could it be that we were defeated? God said, Chata Yisrael, in verse 11. Israel has sinned. And after this whole thing we see that only one person. How could it be that God brings victory over the people of the eye against Israel because one person sinned? Can we imagine? Millions of people, hundreds of thousands of soldiers. Only one person sinned, and God is punishing the whole people. And secondly, why does God have to bring the tribes and bring the families and bring the houses until... Why can't God say, point at one person? It was Achan, he stole, go ahead and punish him. Also, at the beginning of the story, there's a great question. When the spies come back to Joshua, they say, you don't need the entire people. I'm reading in verse 3. Don't have to tire the entire people. Al tiyaga et kol ha'am. Al yaga kol ha'am. Ke alpayim ish lo shlavim. You only need 2,000 or 3,000. 2,000 or 3,000. That's not a number. 2,000 and 3,000 is a big difference. That's a difference of 50%. Something was going on among the people here. And I want to say that actually, the sin was not only on Achan. When God said the people of Israel sinned, it is the people of Israel who sinned. I will even go ahead in the footsteps of our scholars and say, not only the people, Joshua himself was also part of it. And what am I talking about? We know that in the wars of Israel, the soldiers can take booty. They can take a part of what they find in the city. They captured, they fought, they deserve it. In Jericho, there was a law they cannot. Why? The answer is because in Jericho was the first city, and the message was to teach the people, as we said in our last lesson, that God is going ahead, and he did the battle. The booty goes to the soldiers. Who was the main leader, the main officer, the main soldier? God himself. Now, the initiative has gone to the people. The people have to have the initiative in their hand. But they have to remember that even when they fight, it's God who's doing it. When Joshua sends the spies, and they come back and say that to capture a city of 12,000 people, you only need 2,000, 3,000, it means that the people thought themselves that they would be great heroes. Though maybe Achan was the only person who took from the beautiful merchandise that was there in Jericho. But the sin was among the entire people. What is the sin? The sin was that the fact that the people of Israel felt that they're on the horse, that it's their victory. When Achan goes ahead and takes that garment, and takes that money, and he takes that bar of gold, and he takes the silver, he is actually expressing his inner feeling. I did it. I deserve it. And this is the greatest sin of the people when they're entering the land. If God would have just pointed out at Achan and said, Achan sinned, they would miss the entire message. God wanted the whole people there, gathering and watching and following the footsteps until we reach Achan. And that each and every one of them should fear, maybe God is talking to me, maybe I was the one who sinned, yes. Maybe Achan was the only one who actually took it and put it under his bed and hid it. But many of the other people had the same sin. And even Joshua. Because when the spies came back to Joshua and they told him, we only need 2,000, 3,000, Joshua should have told them, are you crazy? How can you capture 12,000, a city of 12,000 people with just 3,000 soldiers? It doesn't work that way. But he was also over-drunk, over-satisfied with the victory of Jericho, and also part of the feeling that the victory was theirs. And this is what happened here. Because if the only sin was the fact that Achan took from the booty, we could have punished Achan, and then in the next chapter we could have seen that they would go ahead again and go out to war with 3,000 people. But we see that in the next chapter they already go out with 30,000 people, because they understand the message. The message of chapter 7 in the book of Joshua, Yoshua Perek Zayin, is to tell us that the sin was not only Achan, the sin was the entire people who were under a perspective that the victory in Jericho was theirs. It's a piece of water. It's a piece of cake. We can do it. No problem. And this is the greatest of sins. Because though the initiative is in the hands of the people, they cannot lose their understanding that it's God who is leading the battle. And they must remember that it's in their hands to do the initiative, and their hands to go ahead and lead the battle and bring the Jewish people back home. But it's also their hands to remember that they can only make the effort, but it's in God's hands. And this is the message, that the ceremony of pointing out to Achan had to go through the entire people and teach the people that they cannot feel that it's in their hands easily, they can beat everything. No, they can't. They are to remember that their energy in their hands is all from the hands of God. Shalom.